ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنما يخشى الله من عباده العلماء صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. My dear respected listeners, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed the best ways for humanity and used the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to teach those ways to humanity and to make those ways reach a state of perfection through the teaching of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of the aspects of the superiority of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam over all other anbiya, who were in fact the teachers of humanity, is that the Prophet ﷺ was the greatest and the superior most in his knowledge over all other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and over all other anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophet ﷺ himself has said, "Utitu ilm al-awwaleen wal-akhirin." I have been given the knowledge of the predecessors and the ones who are going to come forth in the future. And the Prophet ﷺ has said, "Allamani Rabbi fa ahsana ta'limi." My Lord has given me ilm. My Allah, Allamani Rabbi, my Rabb has given me ilm. For the lack of a better word, we can translate ilm as knowledge, but knowledge only explains a specific aspect of ilm. Ilm, when it is used in the language of the Quran and Hadith, it encompasses not only theoretical knowledge but also practical knowledge and concrete, perfect practice of that knowledge. So the Prophet ﷺ has said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has given me this, and he's done it in the best of fashions. فَأَحْسَنَ تَعْلِيمِ, in the most beautiful of ways. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me knowledge, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me the best knowledge. Ahsan, the superior most knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself in his book has at several points explained this. And the reason why a Nabi in relation to their ummah, their nation, is always much more closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not because of the increase in quantity of ibadat, but because of the knowledge that they have of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by virtue of that knowledge, the purity that they have in their ibadat, even though they may be less in number and in quantity and in terms of time than their ummah. For example, when we say about the Prophet ﷺ that he, 1 second of his sleep is better than the Hajj, the Umrah, the Farz ibadat, all of those of his ummah combined. The reason is that the Prophet ﷺ was the most knowledgeable, and by virtue of this knowledge, he had the most ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He understood Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like no one else. And therefore he, no matter if he was sleeping, no matter if he was doing even tiny ibadat, those ibadat that are not very strenuous, he did those ibadat with the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even those little ibadat are much more in value in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than all of the others combined. So my dear respected brothers, we have to understand that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed so much importance on ilm, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran, ask them, and it is a form of negation, that can the knowledgeable people and those who are not knowledgeable, can they ever be equal? And this is a way of saying that they can never be equal, that they can never be on the same stage. The people who have knowledge and the people who lack knowledge. So, my dear respected brothers, we have to look at ourselves and see. From our childhood, we've been listening to this hadith, طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة, that acquiring knowledge, acquiring ilm, is a requirement, is incumbent for every Muslim, male and female. So my dear respected brothers, we have to do two things. Number one, we have to understand, we have to think, we have to reflect that are we paying that kind of attention to ilm, to the knowledge of deen, as is required and as is encouraged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even more importantly, even before doing that, we have to understand that what is this knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about? What is this knowledge that is making the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam the superior most? And what is that knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam declare that those that have this are way superior than those without it? As Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah has explained, that he has said, it's a famous saying of him, he has said, al-ilmu ilman. Ilm are two types. Ilm are two ilm. Al-ilmu ilman. Ilm al-adyan wa ilm al-abdan. Ilm of adyan, knowledge of deen, knowledge of religion. Wa ilm al-abdan, knowledge of the bodies. The ulama have explained that what is the common factor between these two knowledges. And when we understand this, we will understand what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in reality calling knowledge. And what is that knowledge that makes us superior. If you look at the knowledge of adyan or knowledge of religions, and if you look at the knowledge of bodies, ilm al-abdan, both have this unique common feature that if you acquire them with a pure heart, without any biases, they lead you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They lead you to the ma'rifah and understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we study the human body, there's so many things that necessarily, if we have pure intention, if you are unbiased, that automatically lead us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that make us say from ourselves, from within ourselves, that there is someone who has created this human body in a very beautiful manner. The other day I was talking with one of my friends that a human eye, it produces tears automatically, which is a system made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep it moist, to dry it of germs, to dry it of, to keep it, to protect it against germs, to protect it against dryness and everything. And this discussion started when we were using, it was snowing this 2 or 3 days back, and we were using our windshield washer fluid, right? When you spray it, the spray is there, but automatically the wiper comes in, wipes it off, right? But that wiper is not perfect. You see, there's some fluid definitely remaining, and then after a little while that fluid starts to drip, and then you gotta use the wiper again. So we were talking about the human eye, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done this. The eye itself has tiny glands that produces tears, but not only that those tears are produced, if you see in some children, their eyes are constantly wet, right? The reason is that there is a small duct that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala naturally produces within every human eye, which takes the fluids of the eye secretly and subtly into the nose. And that is a perfect mechanism made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of quietly and subtly draining the excess fluid. So in that very tiny eye, and the children, It takes time for them to develop in some children, so their eyes are wet, and as they grow, this problem goes away. So, my dear respected brothers, if we look, I start from, if we study the human body and we study it without a bias, we will naturally be led to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, ilm al-abdan is part of knowledge of deen. And ilm al-adyan, of course. The common feature between these two is that they lead one to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The ma'rifah and the realization of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what is required of anything that can be declared a ilm. That is the reason why Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah has declared these two ilm. Ilm al-adyan wa ilm al-abdan. That these are the two only sorts of knowledge that deserve to be called ilm. That deserve to be called ilm in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So my dear respected brothers, one thing that we derive from this discussion is that ilm has to be, number one, first and foremost, the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the realization of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That which leads us to the realization of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be categorized as ilm in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that which does not do so will not deserve to be called ilm in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first and the foremost purpose of ilm. And when the Prophet ﷺ says طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ وَمُسْلِمَةٍ, it is that ilm that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about. When the Prophet ﷺ says عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي وَأَحْسَنَ تَعْلِيمِي, my Allah has given me ilm and He has given me the ahsan, the beautiful most of ilm. He has done it in the beautiful most most of ways. This is the ilm that the Prophet ﷺ is talking about. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the Prophet ﷺ his ma'rifah, and He has given it in an ahsan manner, in the best, in the most beautiful manner. On the second level, this ilm is the ilm of when you recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you have the knowledge of La ilaha illallah, when you realize that your creator and the only one who is worthy to be worshipped is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you have that basic knowledge of ilm, then ilm for everyone is to understand what is asked of them, what is demanded of them. And ulama have explained that the first level of ilm, the ilm that is necessary for every single Muslim, in explanation to this hadith, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ وَمُسْلِمَةٍ, for every Muslim male and female, that level of ilm which is farz, which is absolutely necessarily required, is to know the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that needs to be fulfilled in relation to every single situation that I face every day. For example, when I have to sleep, how can I sleep? When I have to get up, how do I have to get up? When I have to interact with people, what should my interaction with people be like? When I learn what I should learn, when I do anything in my life, when the sun is about to rise, before the sunrise, what is the requirement from me, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? My dear respected brothers, to gain that kind of knowledge has been made necessary for all of us. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us living in this society generally, and living in this society particularly, and generally all over the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and improve our state. We are running away, farther and farther away from this very important need of our deen. Because to practice anything, to do even the tiniest of things in Islam, you have to have knowledge about it. There was a saying written somewhere that better unborn than untaught, and better untaught than ill-taught. So when you don't have anything in terms of knowledge, in terms of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wanting you to do it, and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wanting you to do it, even if you try to do something to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will result in the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if you do it without ilm. There is a hikayat that I heard in my childhood, that if ilm is there and there is not a huge amount of ibadat, even little ilm makes your ibadat worthy. And the whole concept is that ilm basically gives you realization of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It creates ikhlas in your ibadat. There was this abid, a person who did excessive ibadat, but he had no ilm. He did not have a lot of ilm. So at the time of his death, Shaitan came to him and asked him a question. And asked him that, do you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take the whole universe and keep it the size that it is and put it in the shell of an egg? So that Abid got confused. That person who used to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got really confused that the size has to remain the same and it also has to fit within an eggshell. Because of this confusion, for a moment he got confused and questioned Na'udhu Billah, the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because he did not have ilm. The same question when posed to an alim, he based only on his knowledge, without even listening to the shaitan, without even thinking about it, said plainly that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has full capacity to do whatever he wishes. And that is it. And that is it. I do not think further. This is how ilm, even the basic ilm, can safeguard us and make our ibadat, protect our ibadat from being destroyed and from losing their values by the confusions and the wasawis that are created within our hearts by the shaitan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us an understanding of ilm, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us an understanding and realization of how important it is to gain the basic knowledge of our deen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create an effect of whatever was said and whatever was heard in the heart.